He told me he had cancer the same day. I found a thong in his car that wasn't mine. I was standing in the driveway, keys in hand, watching him come home from what he said was his second round of chemo. His skin looked pale, his posture tired, and he winced slightly as he stepped out of the car. I didn't want to believe what I had just pulled from between the seats of our shared Honda Civic, a black lace thong with a tiny silver heart charm. It was still warm from the sun baking through the windows. My first instinct wasn't suspicion. It was shame. As in, how dare I question him when he's battling for his life? "Rough day?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from cracking. He nodded weakly. They had to up the dosage, my white blood counts tanking. I swallowed hard, slipping the underwear into my purse like it was contraband. "Want me to heat up some soup?" He smiled faintly and kissed my forehead. "You're my rock, babe." I could barely look at him. That night, while he took a long, allegedly pain-relieving shower, I Googled everything. Types of chemo, side effects, timelines, insurance codes. I even found a support group forum and scrolled until my fingers ached. But the next morning, a letter arrived from our insurance provider. The envelope had been opened already, but I caught the corner of it sticking out from beneath a stack of junk mail. It was a benefits statement. He had claimed chemo treatment at Mercy Ridge Oncology Center. Only I worked in billing for a private dentist across the street from that exact clinic. And I knew they didn't process outpatient chemo on weekends like he claimed he'd been getting. I called the number on the form, just to ask. "Hi," I said. "I'm trying to verify a visit from my husband, Josh Henley, for June 9th. I believe he was there for chemotherapy." There was a pause. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the woman on the phone said. "We don't have a patient by that name in our system." That was the first snap in my spine, but it wouldn't be the last. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I started gathering data. I copied his appointment receipts, took photos of every prescription bottle he left lying around. Most were over-the-counter painkillers with the labels peeled off. One even had a Best Buy barcode sticker underneath the pill label. He told me he was too weak for sex. I believed him. He told me he needed to stay overnight at his oncology buddy's place because the nausea made it dangerous to drive. I believed him. He told me the nausea was making his sense of smell hypersensitive, so he asked me to stop wearing perfume. I believed him. And then he told me he couldn't go to my sister's baby shower because the immune suppression made group settings risky. I believed that too, until my cousin sent me a photo from the brewery next to the shower venue. Josh was in the background, laughing at a table with a woman in red, their heads touching. I zoomed in. That tiny silver heart charm on her wrist. Identical to the one on the thong. I felt my brain split open like a dropped egg. Still, I needed absolute proof. I needed something undeniable, so I did something I never imagined I'd do. I told him I wanted to come with him to his next chemo session. "Just to be there for you," I said sweetly, "even if I wait in the car." He looked panicked for a split second, then smiled. "You'd be bored, babe. It's just IVs and white walls, nothing romantic about it." "But I could bring snacks." "I'll be fine." "Please." And that's when he snapped, not in anger but in pure, sweaty fear. "You don't trust me," he said quietly. "You think I'm lying about cancer." I froze. "No," I lied. He turned away like a tragic soap opera character and muttered, "That's the worst thing you've ever said to me." He didn't speak to me for 3 days, but on the 4th I received a calendar invite in my email, from him, titled, "Couples Therapy, Dr. Amanda Sklar." That was his move, guilt swap, make me the unstable one. But I had a move too. I showed up to therapy with a manila folder of printed receipts, screenshots, timestamps, and the goddamn thong in a Ziploc bag. Dr. Sklar, who was apparently real, sat frozen as I unloaded the entire thing across her coffee table. Josh just sat there, pale, not chemo pale, caught pale. Then he tried to talk. But I cut him off. "You want to explain to her why the hospital you listed has no record of you, or why this thong was in your car the day you said you got a blood transfusion." He looked at the Ziploc, then at me, then at the therapist, and said, "You're fucking insane." That's when Dr. Sklar, bless her, said, "I think we're done here." I walked out, but I wasn't done. Because 2 hours later, I got a call. From Dr. Abrams, an actual oncologist at Mercy Ridge. The one I'd emailed just in case. Hi, is this Mrs. Henley? Yes. Just returning your inquiry. There is no record of your husband ever being a patient here, but I do recognize the name. My heart thudded. Why? There was a pause. I believe he volunteers for a friend of mine who runs a cancer support group. He helps drive actual patients to and from appointments. And then, as if my stomach hadn't already turned to fire, she added he usually comes with a young woman, blonde. She said they were engaged. My vision went black before the call even ended. I had been living with a man who faked cancer, so he could cheat on me at the hospital. I don't even remember driving home. I just remember sitting on the kitchen floor, the phone still in my hand, and the silence in the house hitting me like a wall. I stared at the half-empty bottle of nausea meds he left on the counter. The one I now knew was filled with fucking vitamin C. Everything around me blurred, the photos on the fridge, his hoodie draped over a chair, the chemo fundraiser flyer I had posted on our corkboard. Yeah, he had set up a fucking GoFundMe. He had raised $2,740 from family and friends. I pulled it up again, fingers shaking, and scrolled through the comments. We're praying for you, Josh. Stay strong. You've always been a fighter. Let us know if you need meals delivered. And beneath it, a photo he'd posted, head shaved, pale lips, even holding a goddamn IV bag. That IV bag. I reverse image searched it. Stock photo. From a free medical supply image database. He hadn't just lied to me. He had performed his cancer for everyone who loved him. And for what? So he could sneak around with his little blonde fiancée while we cried and fundraised and brought him fucking Jell-O. I was done crying. I took screenshots of everything. Then I opened a new Instagram account. Burn account, no followers, no name, just one post, a carousel of truth. Photo of the thong. Screenshot of his chemo selfie next to the stock photo source. Screenshot of the Mercy Ridge, rep's email saying he wasn't a patient. The fundraiser link. And the biggest one, a voice memo I had secretly recorded during therapy when he said, "You think I'm lying about cancer." I tagged his family, his workplace, the GoFundMe page, his best friend. I hit post. 10 minutes later, my phone started melting. Text from his sister. WTF is this? Call from his mom. Missed voicemail transcribed. Please tell me this isn't real, please. Then the group chat. The group chat we shared with his friends, our bridal party. Because yes, we were engaged. His best man, Dylan, wrote one sentence. You're a dead man, Josh. I'd never seen digital silence hit so loud. And then a ping. A DM request. From an account called at Jessicans89. No profile picture, just a message. I didn't know about you. I thought I was the fiancé. My stomach dropped. I clicked her profile. Private. I replied. We need to talk, call me. 5 minutes later, she did. Her voice was small, devastated. I met him at the Oncology Volunteer Center, she said. He told me he was recovering from leukemia, said you were his ex who couldn't let go. She sniffled. He brought me to appointments with real patients, held my hand, told me he wanted a future. I could barely breathe. And now, she said shakily, I just found out I'm pregnant. It was like being punched in the chest. He told me he had fertility issues from chemo, she added, that it was a miracle. I sat completely still. Did you, I finally said, did you see him take chemo? No, she whispered. He always said he didn't want me to see him like that, too vulnerable. I almost laughed, of course. But then she added, he told me he was planning to propose, soon. That's when something inside me broke into shards. Because I looked over to the drawer where my engagement ring was. And I remembered him saying, let's not tell anyone yet, just until the chemo's done. He was engaged to both of us. And now she was pregnant. We agreed to meet. She brought her phone, screenshots, photos, voicemails, Even a picture of him asleep with his arm around her, same hoodie he wore in our engagement shoot. We sat in the parking lot behind the Mercy Ridge building. She cried. I clenched my fists until my nails dug crescent moons into my palms. And then she asked, "What are we going to do?" I looked at her, really looked. This wasn't her fault. She was collateral in his lie. And suddenly, I had an idea. A twisted, poetic idea. Does he know you know? No. Good, I said, let's keep it that way. Because if Josh wanted to fake a medical emergency, then we were about to give him one he'd never forget. We called it Operation Chemo Karma. It started with a fake letter. Jess had a cousin who worked at a print shop. She helped us recreate official Mercy Ridge stationery, down to the watermark and barcode. The letterhead looked perfect. The wording. We regret to inform you that due to recent internal audits, your patient status has been flagged for review. Please contact our billing office immediately with your patient ID and insurance information. But the real kicker was the return address. A P.O. box we controlled. The envelope, certified, delivered with a signature required. 2 days later, Josh called me in a panic. Did you get a letter from the hospital? He asked. I kept my voice flat. No, why? I don't know, something weird's going on. They're saying I'm not on record. I need you to, can you check the login for the portal? I paused for just long enough. I thought you said you didn't want me involved with that stuff anymore, I said coldly. You told me not to worry about it. He stammered. Yeah, it's probably a mistake. I'll take care of it. Oh, he was unraveling already. Meanwhile, Jess kept playing dumb fiancé. She even asked him what color theme they'd want for their baby shower. He responded with maybe neutrals, in case it's a girl. I almost threw my phone. We gave him 3 more days. Long enough for him to spiral. He called the hospital. Obviously, they had no idea who he was. He texted Jess. Babe, I need to lay low for a while. Weird shit happening with my records. And then, we dropped the hammer. Jess posted a TikTok. Not under her name, she made a burner. Just her face, puffy, red from tears, telling her story. Voice shaking but clear. My fiancé said he was recovering from cancer. He told me he couldn't have kids. Now I'm pregnant, and I just found out he was lying. About all of it. She didn't say his name. Didn't have to. The comments exploded. And then people started connecting dots. Someone screen recorded a fundraiser he shared on Facebook. Another user found the GoFundMe. Then, one of my friends posted our engagement photo in the comments with the caption. Weird, same guy proposed to my friend last year. What are the odds? It went viral overnight. I woke up to 14,000 notifications. Josh's entire digital life was getting autopsied in real time. But we weren't done. That Sunday, his mom invited the whole family for a brunch she hosted once a month. Josh always went. I hadn't been invited since his treatment started. This time I asked her directly if I could come. She hesitated but said yes. So I brought a little gift. I walked in and the air went stiff. Josh looked like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes darted from me to his mom, to my tote bag. Can we talk? He whispered. Oh, we'll all talk, I said sweetly. I waited until everyone had their quiche, until they passed around the stupid fruit salad, until someone asked him, how are you feeling lately, Josh? Then I stood up and placed a white envelope on the table. Actually, I said, I have something. He froze. I watched his fingers twitch as he picked up the envelope, opened it. Inside, a printed screenshot of his fundraiser, a photo of him cuddled with Jess, a transcript of his call to the hospital billing line. And the final page. A baby ultrasound, labeled J. Kennington, 9 weeks. Silence fell so hard it echoed. His mom whispered, what is this? Josh's face drained of blood. He looked at me, then at the ultrasound, then at his dad. And then he fucking ran. Out of the dining room, down the hall, slammed the door. His sister stood up and slow clapped. His mom burst into tears. I sat down and took a sip of orange juice. Well, I said, at least now everyone knows. But what I didn't know. Jess wasn't done yet. She had one last card to play, and she was going to play it at his office, in front of his boss. Jess didn't just burn bridges, she blew up the whole damn city. She walked into Josh's office on Monday morning wearing a beige maternity dress, hair pinned back like she was meeting the president. In her hand, a small gift bag. Inside the bag, a framed copy of the ultrasound, a printed-out transcript of their texts, and a fake certificate of completion for 6 rounds of non-existent chemotherapy at Mercy Ridge, complete with clip art of a smiling cartoon nurse. She timed it perfectly, just before the Monday morning all-hands meeting. Josh worked at a boutique marketing firm, about 30 people, open layout, glass offices. His boss, Ellen, was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who didn't like mess. Jess knew this. She strolled up to the receptionist. "Hi, I'm here to drop off something for Josh Kennington. It's personal. Can I give it directly to him?" Receptionist hesitated. "He's in the conference room, actually. It's the weekly stand-up." Jess blinked innocently. "Oh, perfect, I'll be quick." She walked straight into the room. The entire office froze. Josh was mid-sentence, talking about campaign metrics. He looked up, saw Jess, and went absolutely white. "Hi, babe," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Thought you'd want to see your son's heartbeat." She pulled out the ultrasound and held it up. Several coworkers gasped. One guy spilled his coffee. Josh stammered, "Jess, what the fuck are you doing?" Jess smiled. "I just wanted to make sure your coworkers knew about your cancer recovery." "Oh, wait." She pulled out the fake chemo certificate and placed it on the table. "Never mind." Ellen stood up. "What is this?" Jess handed her the text messages. "Your employee faked a cancer diagnosis to cheat on his fiancée with me, told me he was infertile. I'm pregnant." "Pregnant?" someone whispered. Ellen blinked at the printouts. "Is this a joke?" Jess stepped back. "Nope, but here's the punchline. He raised $8,000 online for treatment. You might want to look at his browser history." Then she walked out like she was on a runway. Josh got fired that afternoon. We found out through his meltdown text. "You think this is funny? You've ruined my life. UWANTED revenge. Well, you got it." "No, babe, this wasn't revenge. This was exposure." But just when I thought it was over, I got a call. From Jess at 10 p.m. Her voice was shaking. "Are you sitting down?" "Jess, what?" "I just got a letter, certified mail, addressed to Josh, but it came to me." I felt a knot twist in my stomach. "What was it?" "It's from his ex, before you. Her name's Natalia. She lives in Arizona. She says he did the same thing to her." I went dead silent. Jess continued. "She wrote that he faked having multiple sclerosis, told her he might need a wheelchair soon. He used it as a reason to keep her close. Said she couldn't leave him during a health crisis." I felt like the floor fell out from under me. "Why now?" I asked. "Because," Jess said, voice breaking, "she saw the TikTok. Her niece sent it to her." There was more. Natalia had attached documents, old texts, screenshots, even a restraining order she filed after Josh threatened to overdose when she tried to break up with him. Jess started crying. "This wasn't just us," she whispered. "He's done this for years. He was a predator, a liar, a con artist who used fake pain to control women, play the victim, and deflect every red flag. And we were just 2 names on a long list." I couldn't sleep that night, not out of heartbreak, but rage. Because I remembered something. Something I hadn't thought about in months. Back when Josh was getting chemo, he'd tell me he couldn't drive because of the fatigue, so I'd pick him up after appointments. He always had me park in a little lot behind a dry cleaner. He said the hospital entrance was too busy. But I remembered, once, I got there 10 minutes early. And I saw him walking from the front of a strip mall. Not the hospital. The mall. At the time, I'd brushed it off, told myself I misread what I saw, gaslit myself just like he did. But now, I opened Google Maps, typed in the address of that hospital lot, scrolled forward, and my stomach flipped. There was a clinic in that plaza. But it wasn't Mercy Ridge. It was a women's wellness center. OBGYN. He was never at chemo. He was at her appointments. And on the last Google review of the clinic, dated 4 months ago, was a 5-star comment signed J.K., thanking the staff for helping his girlfriend through a difficult first trimester. There it was, right in front of me in permanent pixels. Thank you to Dr. Salazar and team for taking such amazing care of my girlfriend through her rough first trimester. Truly compassionate and discreet. JK. My throat closed. My heart raced. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I screenshot the review, zoomed in on the profile icon, which of course was just a gray circle, and forwarded it to Jess with no caption. Her reply came fast. Jess, I'm going back there tomorrow. Wanna come? I didn't hesitate. We walked into the clinic like two women possessed. Jess had her phone camera on in her purse, just in case. I had printed the review and the fake chemo certificate tucked into a bright pink folder. Jess wore red lipstick like war paint. I hadn't slept. The receptionist greeted us cheerily. Hi there, how can we help? Jess's voice was calm but cold. We're here about a patient, Josh Kennington, or possibly under the name Jessica Keene. We think there's been insurance fraud. The receptionist blinked. I'm sorry, are you patients here? No, I said, but our names might be on documents we never signed. We'd like to speak to someone in charge. The woman stiffened, looked behind her, then picked up the phone. Just a moment. A few minutes later, a middle-aged woman in a lab coat came out, Dr. Salazar. Her eyes darted between us with quiet caution. We sat in a back office. Jess laid out the printed materials like a case file. Chemo lies, screenshots, ultrasounds, the review. Dr. Salazar sat very still. Then she said softly, I can't confirm or deny any patient identities without consent, but I will say that we've had troubling inconsistencies with one male visitor this year. Using aliases, bringing in different women, asking for copies of documents. She paused. I'll be submitting an internal report, and if you contact the state board, they may initiate their own investigation. That's all I can tell you. It was enough. Josh hadn't just lied. He had impersonated Jess to access her pregnancy records. He'd probably forged her signature to get updates or even request copies to send to his actual girlfriend, some mystery woman we still hadn't identified. On the way out, Jess turned to me. If he forged my signature, I'm pressing charges. I nodded, and I'll go public. She frowned, you sure? I'd spent a year protecting his image. The soft-spoken guy with a rare cancer, a gentle heart, and the worst luck. I did GoFundMes, planned chemo-friendly meals, bought scarves to keep his head warm. Meanwhile, he was stealing ultrasounds and staging chemo stories to juggle two women. Not anymore. That night, I posted a TikTok. It was calm, factual, just a walkthrough of what we discovered. I blurred names and used initials, but I showed the fake certificate, the printout of the Google review, and the screenshots Jess provided of his text confessions. By morning, it had 230,000 views. By lunch, it had 1.6 million. And by dinner, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Is this about Josh Kennington? The voice said. It was a woman, shaky, maybe mid-30s. Yes, who is this? I think I'm his girlfriend, his real one. My blood ran cold. Can we meet? She said. I think there's something you need to see. We met at a diner 2 towns over. She introduced herself as Kara. She was quiet, meek, wore sunglasses even indoors. She looked exhausted. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Josh in bed, holding a positive pregnancy test next to her, smiling. The date stamp. 8 weeks before he ever told Jess he was sterile. He told me he couldn't tell his family yet, Kara said, that it would upset them, that his ex was stalking him. He said I was his future. I sat frozen. She opened her notes app. It was full of voice memos. Dozens. Him lying about court orders, exes, chemotherapy, even fake doctors' names. But then she played one memo that nearly made me vomit. It was him calmly explaining to Kara how to tell the obgyn she had no insurance, but still get seen under his family health account, using Jessica's name. He had coached her on how to impersonate Jess in case the clinic cross-checked names. He wasn't just a liar. He was committing identity fraud, medical fraud, insurance fraud. I barely heard the rest. My ears rang. Kara was crying. "I'm sorry," she said. I didn't know any of this until your TikTok popped up." I whispered, "I believe you." Then she looked up. "There's more," she said, tears streaking her mascara. "He told me he was taking steroids for his cancer, that they were affecting his behavior, but then I found a vial in his bag." She opened her purse. Inside was a small, unlabeled vial of testosterone. "Not prescribed," she said. "From Mexico, illegally ordered." I blinked. Why would he need that? And then the final bomb dropped. "Because," she whispered, "Josh isn't his real name, and he's done this before in another state under a different identity." I couldn't breathe. Kara just sat there, eyes fixed on the untouched coffee in front of her, fingers trembling against the ceramic mug. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He used to be Jason Keaton. Same birth date, same face, but that name doesn't show up on his ID anymore. I found it in an old email. He told me it was his pen name, but I reverse searched it." She pulled up a browser tab. A local news article, blurry mugshot, a headline that read, "Man accused of defrauding multiple women in staged cancer scam." The date, 2015, the state, Arizona. He had moved 2 states away, changed a few letters in his name, grown a beard, and started over. Same story, different women. Kara showed me the article. It detailed 3 women who had launched a civil case against Jason Keaton, claiming he convinced them he was undergoing cancer treatment, took money, forged paperwork, and in one case, even faked a miscarriage. The article never said what happened after. No follow-up, no resolution, just a quiet vanishing. Now I was shaking. "He said all the charges were dropped," Kara added weakly. "Said it was just bitter exes out for revenge. I believed him. I even helped him pay off a legal debt. $9,000. Gone." I sat back and stared at the wall. It all felt too massive, too tangled. And somehow he was still out there, posting wellness selfies on Instagram, liking tweets about resilience, and probably spinning another web for some new woman. That's when I snapped. "I want to go public," I said. "Not just TikTok, full story, news outlets, police, everything." Kara looked up. "You'd really do that?" "I have to. This isn't just cheating anymore. This is a criminal con artist hiding behind illness." She hesitated, then nodded. "I'll go with you." By the next afternoon, the internet had his face plastered everywhere. We emailed the Arizona journalist. She responded within the hour, said she always believed the story wasn't over and she remembered Jason. We gave her everything: screenshots, photos, copies of bills, doctor names, the forged ultrasound files. The fake chemo GoFundMe screenshots from a year ago, still archived by donors. She promised an exposé. Then the local news picked it up. By 6 p.m., Josh Kennington Exposed was trending on Twitter. Reddit threads popped up in multiple subs. Women came forward, one from Oregon, one from Nevada. All with the same story. Met a man on a dating app, told them he had cancer. Was mysterious, gentle, and just sad enough to pull sympathy. Often mentioned fertility problems, exes who traumatized him, and always disappeared on treatment days. By 10 p.m., Kara called me. "He's gone," she said. "What do you mean?" "His stuff, it's not in the apartment. His clothes are gone, his phone number's dead, he's just vanished." I believed her, but I also didn't care. Because this time, he'd left evidence. And we had names now. Victims, a paper trail. A detective in Arizona even emailed me back. "We are reopening the file." I was shaking, but this time with adrenaline. For the first time in over a year, I felt powerful. 3 days later, the real twist hit. Jess texted me. "Jess, you're not going to believe what came in the mail." She sent a photo. It was a wedding invitation to celebrate the love of Joshua Kennington and Maria Delgado. I stared. Maria. Kara's legal name was Maria Delgado. I FaceTimed her instantly. She looked pale, numb. "I didn't send that," she whispered. "I found a whole stack of them in a bag he left. He must have mailed them before he fled." I blinked. Wait, what? She stood and walked to her bedroom, showed me the bag. Inside, printed invitations, matching RSVP cards, envelope labels, and tucked at the bottom, a receipt for a wedding venue deposit under her name. Signed by him. He forged my signature again, she said. He was going to fake a wedding. I think just for clout or maybe to scam more gifts. I don't even know anymore. Did you ever agree to get married? She swallowed. He never even proposed, just kept saying it's happening, and I didn't fight it. He said it was all taken care of, and I let it happen. I felt sick. He wasn't just a cheater or a liar. He was orchestrating an entire fake life for public display. And somehow convinced a woman to stand in it, like a placeholder bride. The article came out the next morning. The Cancer Con returns. Victims speak out against serial romance fraudster. It was brutal, public, viral. They used his mugshot from 2015 and paired it with side-by-side comparisons of his new look. The journalist quoted both me and Jess. Kara had given a statement too, though anonymously. The article closed with this line. While local authorities continue their investigation, the women want their stories known, not just for justice, but to prevent others from falling into the same trap. They want you to know, when someone weaponizes illness for manipulation, silence helps no one. It was raw. It was real. And we weren't silent anymore. 2 weeks passed. I'd gone back to work. I was starting to laugh again. I'd even re-downloaded a dating app just to feel something. Just to remind myself I still had a life outside of this nightmare. Then, one morning, I got a DM request on Instagram from a familiar face. A woman I didn't know. But in her profile photo, smiling, arms wrapped around her waist, was Josh. Smiling, shirtless, and very much not gone. Her message said, "Hey, sorry to be random, but do you know this man? He told me you're his crazy ex who's been stalking him." I stared at my screen in silence for a full minute. The woman's name was Taylor. Her message kept blinking at me like a siren. "He told me you're his crazy ex who's been stalking him. Said you were obsessed and jealous of our engagement." Engagement? I scrolled her profile faster than I could process what I was seeing. Every photo screamed fresh start. There he was, wearing different clothes, hair slightly shorter, but unmistakably him, his arm around her at brunch. A hiking selfie. A cheesy black and white save the date post. T+J forever, April 2026. The bile in my throat rose so fast I nearly gagged. I DM'd back immediately. "Taylor, you don't know me, but I know him. He's not who he says he is." I attached the link to the news article. The TikTok exposé, screenshots of the GoFundMe, everything. Read receipts popped up. Then, nothing. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then she blocked me. Just like that. Gone. It was like watching someone dive off a cliff while you're screaming from the edge. I collapsed onto the couch, breath ragged. Josh was already running the next play, mid-fallout. He'd found his next target, his next persona. And worse, he was preemptively discrediting me, turning his lies into my delusions. I thought that would be the end of it. But it was. 2 days later, the police called. From my city. "Ma'am, we received a complaint that you've been making false allegations against a man named Joshua Kennington and harassing his fiancée." I froze. "Excuse me." "There's a report filed. He says you've impersonated law enforcement and fabricated medical records to ruin his reputation." Oh no. This was his move now, offense as defense. I snapped into action. "I have documentation," I said firmly. "Screenshots, news articles, testimonies. I have a journalist who interviewed multiple victims. You're welcome to call her." There was a pause on the line. "We'll need to see everything." So I sent it all. The emails, the photos, the statement from the Arizona detective reopening the file, even the receipt with my name he'd used to forge hospital paperwork. I heard nothing for a week. Until one of the detectives called me back and said 5 words I'll never forget. "He's done this before, nationwide." That was 3 months ago. Since then, a multi-state task force has picked up the case. Turns out he's had at least 7 aliases in the last decade. At least 5 confirmed women scammed. Maybe more too scared or ashamed to come forward. Maria, has joined a support group for fraud victims. Jess started therapy. I finally deleted every old photo of him from my phone. But I kept one thing. That fake ultrasound. I had it framed, in a cheap plastic frame from the dollar store. Not as a trophy. As a reminder of the depth some people will go, not just to lie, but to rewrite reality so thoroughly, you start questioning your own pulse. The final twist. 2 weeks ago, someone tagged me in a TikTok. It was a shaky video, handheld, taken at a mall kiosk. Josh, under yet another name, was selling essential oils. Yes, essential oils. The caption: this guy said he healed himself from cancer through herbs and meditation, but he refused to show any medical records. Red flag. The comments were filled with my screenshots. The news article, my face, the whole damn internet dragging him again. This time, I didn't even need to lift a finger. Karma had Wi-Fi. And this man had run out of batteries. Is faking sickness the lowest betrayal? Discuss.